This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today I'm going to do some country pork ribs on my Masterbuilt bullet smoker. Now, I've done a few different test cooks that I didn't film, and I actually threw away one of the videos that I did film. The last one that I posted with the pork shoulder turned out amazingly good, and so I'm very happy that I've turned the corner on this one and figured out exactly what I need to do. So what we're doing is we're using the charcoal snake method from this point forward until I find a better solution for controlling the air intake. Now, the reason that we have the problem with air intake is because this bowl holds all the charcoal and there's no seal across the bottom. When I am able to find a way to insert a seal of some sort, then I'll make that modification. But for now, we're just gonna do the regular cooks with the way the smoker came from the factory and make it work out. I went ahead and loaded in a standard charcoal snake. And if you look here, you'll see that there's 2 rows of charcoal on the bottom and 2 rows of charcoal on the top. These first 3 pieces of charcoal are actually matchlight charcoal. Now, one thing to remember before we move forward is that you want the matchlight charcoal almost completely burned up before you actually put the food in the smoker, or you will get that lighter fluid taste. The next thing is that I'm going to take and I'm going to put this haystack right in here between these 2 rocks. I use the 2 rocks as kind of the starting point, but it also gives us a good place to lean those first matchlight charcoals up against. And get that in there nice and snug. And then I have 2 more matchlight charcoals right here. I'm going to put 1 here and 1 here. It's really important that we lean those against there. Now, I'm going to take a break real quick while I put this inside the smoker body. That's going to be a little bit challenging, so I'll just kind of work it in there, and I'll probably tilt the smoker backwards just a little bit. I was able to get that pan in there by simply tilting the smoker all the way to the side, slid the pan in there, and then laid it down flat with no issues. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a stick lighter to light that tumbleweed. Now, you can see that tumbleweed burning well, and what we want it to do is we want it to get going good and light those matchlight charcoals up, and then have those get the charcoal snake going. That will take a little bit of time, so we'll go ahead and take a break for about 15 minutes and let that work. So it's been about 10 minutes since we last talked, and I'm not really liking how well this is lighting up. So what I'm going to do is, first thing, I placed the block of wood on top of the matchlight charcoals, and then I'm going to place this lid on here, and you can watch that. Now I'm going to take my old blow dryer and set it on cool and low, and I'm going to give it some oxygen. The wood, I blew on it a couple of times after I placed it in there, and it started to go just a little bit, but we want more than that because I don't want to wait for an hour for this to be ready to cook. So I blew on that for about 60 seconds or less. Something I wanted to point out to you is that I blew in a downward angle, because if I blow across it, then it will push the flame into the other charcoals, and we really want to maintain the charcoal snake effect. So I'm going to continue to do that for maybe another minute or 2, and we'll take a quick break while I do that and let it get lit up. So I'll see you in a few minutes for me and 1 second for you. So I went for just slightly over 2 minutes there, and I'm very happy with how it looks now, and we'll pop that picture up right there. I had to leave the cover on, so we can't take a video over the top of that because of the sparks. And when you're blowing on it with the blow dryer, you want to keep it, the sparks well contained. And don't forget, fire extinguisher right there, always. Now, it's not fire season here anymore, but we've got the wood fence backdrop and the tiny house is behind us. And if I burn down my wife's tiny house she shed, it's not going to be a good day for me. So anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load in the bowl, and then I'll load the top grate. I'm not going to put the bottom grate in today. I'm going to get my hands dirty. And then the top grate. And I'm going to leave the lid off to make sure that I encourage good airflow until we move on to the next step. So the smoker is going along nicely, getting completely preheated the way we like it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set the grill mat down on here. And there's no particular way, but I'm just putting it the same way as the grates just because. And then I'm going to set the lid on so it will start to preheat in the normal pattern. And I'll close the door. And just like that, we're good to go. What I have here is 5 country pork ribs, and this is roughly about 3 pounds. These weigh pretty good. They are pretty thick pieces of meat, and that's one of the reasons I like them. I separated them out so I'll be able to season them and roll them around and work with them easily. For our seasoning today, I bought a store brand pork seasoning. Now, I haven't really set on my favorite pork seasoning, which I know I've mentioned to you in the past if you've watched some of my other videos. Typically, I will take a little bit of garlic, a little bit of pepper, and then a little bit of a brisket rub or a beef rub and go over top of that. I want to find something a little more pork rub, but I want to avoid a lot of sugar. A lot of the pork rubs have a lot of sugars, and the #1 ingredient in the rub that I bought today was cane sugar. So cane sugar is not the worst. It's not like high fructose corn syrup or anything like that. But it's still, if you use a lot, it's not going to work out for keto. So what I did is I took 1 part pepper, 1 part granulated garlic, and 4 parts of the mixture. So that'll add a little bit of pepper and a little bit of garlic to it. I don't want to over season it, but I want to try to use just about all what I have in here, which is 3 tablespoons total. Coat it, then pat it. Then I'm going to flip it over completely. Oh, we've got them all completely coated. The top and bottom sides are coated a little bit better than the ends, but that's not my biggest concern. And it smells really good, so I have high hopes for this. I do think that on my next trial with it, I'm probably going to go a little heavier. I tend to just always cook just a little lighter than I planned on the seasoning, and it's still, you get that wonderful smoky flavor. So let's take a look in here. I'm happy with what I see in there. Temperature is still a little low. We're at 200 degrees, but that's okay because it will continue to rise. Going to put the biggest, thickest one right down the middle, and then we'll space them out from there. So I've got all 5 of them in there, and then in a minute or two I'm going to go ahead and put in the probe thermometer. So we'll be right back, and I'm gonna put the lid on and let it keep heating up. So I have my temp spike and the spike dock, and we'll check that and see how it looks here. It showed up there once I unplugged this, and both batteries look fully charged. And I like to put my finger on the end of this to make sure that there's a temperature difference, to make sure it is seeing the temperature. And like mentioned in the previous video, there is a little line right there. So I'll put my thumb right next to that line, just past it, because that line needs to be buried into our pork. We're going to go right here in the middle. Just like any other cook that you do, you don't want to touch the thermometer on the bone. So if you bump it up against the bone, you either need to reset it or you need to back it out just a little bit and make sure again that that line is buried. We're going to go ahead and let this go. And my plan is to take it to about medium temperature. So we'll go ahead and first we'll check the cook, and I'll set that for pork, and we'll go to medium, and it's calling medium for 160, and I'll probably pull it a little before that, maybe like 155, but we're gonna let it go like this, and then I'll come back when it's time to flip. I currently have an internal temperature of 142, and I'm going to try to see if I can do that and get that up on the screen for you. So let's go over this picture real quick. And right in the middle there, we have an internal temperature of 142. The target temperature is 160. Down near the bottom, you're going to see that we have an ambient temperature of 264. Now, I was just right around 225, and I knew that was nowhere near high enough to get it done. And a fatty pork piece can easily handle a temperature of 275. So there's no need to worry about that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to flip them over. I have to say that I'm really happy with how they look right now. Going to go ahead and get this lid back on. That temperature spike was just a little closer to the grate than I would like. I'm hoping that the metal doesn't actually influence the ambient temperature sensor. Not sure if it will or if it won't. So I'm going to hang out here for about 5 minutes and make sure that the temperature recovers nicely, and then we'll be running it until I get to where I want to be, which is going to be right around 155. So I'm thinking for me that'll be about 20 minutes, and for you that'll be 1 second. So it's time to go ahead and pull those, and here's a shot of the temperature spike app, and if you'll see there, the internal temperature is 156. Now, it jumped from 154 to 156. I don't know exactly how that happened, but it did. Let's take a look at that. Oh, those look really good. So the reason I put this glove on is to pull that thermometer out. You could go ahead and leave the thermometer in while it's resting, but I typically don't do that. I'm going to set it down here to cool. As soon as it's cool, then I'll be able to take it in and wash it. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these pieces. So let's grab this one right here. Now I know I'm going to tell you this every single time. Rest your meat at this point for about 10 to 15 minutes. For a thin cut like this, that should do it. I'm going to bring this up here so you can see it. Nice color, little smoke ring around the edges there. That's tasty. Like I said, every time I wish I put more seasoning on, but I didn't, but it still tastes great. I'm gonna take another piece. I'll be right back. I'm gonna show you this again really close here. That's a good looking piece there. So I'll be honest, I think that this snake method is dialed in and we're good to go on this. And I don't see why I would worry too much about the open oxygen intake from the bottom, as long as you manage your fuel and how it burns really well. I did have to kick in a couple of pieces of lump charcoal to get it up to the temperature I wanted. So in the future, I might consider going with just a little bit more charcoal, and it should be just fine. So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna wrap them in this foil sitting here and let them rest for a few minutes, and they'll be a little bit better than they are now, but I don't know how they could be. And make myself some vegetables for dinner and have a great dinner. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and go check the price on this smoker with my affiliate link below. That will help the channel, even if you don't buy it. If you do buy it, I will get compensated, and I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot and have a great day.